You know, I'm gonna have to like find a safe or something, something to put these, because they're a little risque. You know, like I don't have like children to worry about or anything, so it's like they're not gonna stumble upon this. But yeah, we're talking about the cinema of Tinto Brass, Tinto Brass. Um, I want to talk about these releases because they're really interesting, and I mean, I also do have the monolith bloody Caligula set, but I'm not going to reference that as much, mostly because the only cut of that I have seen currently is just the ultimate cut, which is the least pornographic version of the movie. Not to mention the fact that obviously, yeah, they had hired him on, cut him out, put it in more porn, all this. There's a whole history of that film. Wonderful release from Umbrella. Definitely check it out. Even if you don't like the film, you probably haven't seen the Ultimate Cut, and it is a hell of a release. You don't need the big box set, but I actually do recommend it. It is really, really good. But I want to talk about these three. We got Cheeky, Frivolous Lola, and All Ladies Do It. These are all amazing 4K releases. I'm going to look at the least pornographic one. Ooh, maybe that might be All Ladies Do It, because I know I can't show Cheeky. I tried showing Cheeky in my unboxing video, one of my male videos, and I'm like, I can't show this because it's just nudity. So, for reference at least, if you're a physical media collector like myself, this is basically what you get. Yeah, this is the least pornographic. Most of these show visuals of sex scenes. I mean, one of these shots is technically from one, but I'm not going to point it out. It does detail down below there what it comes with in terms of special features, which is great. The Blu-ray disc, I believe, is all regions, if not region B, but it doesn't stipulate. It comes with English with and Italian languages with optional subtitles, DTS HD Master Audio 2.0 Mono and 2.0 Stereo. I know the other two come with 5.1 mixes as well for both English and Italian, which is wonderful. It comes with 4 different audio mixes. I watch these in Italian because I'm just going to watch these in Italian anyway. I do the same for my Giallos. I'm going to watch them in Italian. I like them in Italian. They just feel better. They have a sense of language, especially when they're describing things of a sexual nature where it just feels, I don't know, more appropriate. It doesn't feel kind of cringy when you get some American person dubbing it over. So this 4K in particular comes with the 4K, which is a 4K transfer from the original negative and restoration plus HDR. All the three are the same, with an audio commentary and theatrical trailer. Blu-ray is the same stuff, but it also comes with an interview of the director, outtakes from the movie, and photo gallery. They're all basically the same in that degree. There's not too much difference. They all come with the original negative, 4K restoration, audio commentaries. Cheeky has a lot more special features, actually. It has a backstage thing, an interview of the cinematographer, isolated score, which is kind of insane that it has an isolated score, but when most of the movie is just people having sex, I can kind of understand. And they all actually emphasize the fact that they include slipcase reversible sleeve with uncensored Italian poster art, 20 pages illustrated booklet with an essay. I think they all have, they're all essays by the same people. Eugenio Ercolani, I'm bad with my Italian, but nevertheless, and Domenico Monetti. I did Italian for 9 years. Does this help me at all? Plus, 4 times repro Italian lobby card prints, which are really fun until you open the one for Cheeky, where there's just nudity everywhere. It's just tits and ass. So yeah, like I said, they all come with that same essence. They all have. That's a butt. I can't show that. They have the alternate artwork, which is great. Again. The more explicit artwork, and Italian for that matter, actually. And again, that's got nudity on it. I can only show so much, but that's why I'm not diving too deeply into what these look like. Again, the alternate artwork is the less explicit version, basically a zoomed-in version. But again, you get that same artwork on the disc, and that's the same for all of them. But it also has it in English as well. So if you get a non-slipcover version, at least you still have the English version. But well, you have the English plus Italian on both sides. That booklet has a nipple on it. I can't show that. Comes with a booklet. Again, essays, which comes with alternate posters, behind-the-scenes images. This one actually has an image of the Playboy magazine, and again, titties galore. So I cannot show that on YouTube. That's got butts in it. That's got That's got butts. That's got tits in it. That's the non-explicit. That's the only non-explicit art card. So most of them are like this, where in traditional lobby card fashion, you get a still from the movie and the title, usually in Italian, and yeah, the rest of them have a bunch of titties and ass and whatever, because they're Italian erotica, of course they're going to. The reason I'm covering these three instead of Caligula, mostly because I've already dived into the Caligula box set, and that is a really great set for Caligula. I wanted to talk about these films kind of just in general, but also kind of discuss what I think of them as restorations. And to be fair, if we're going to jump straight into the restorations, they all look tremendous. It is crazy how good these films look in 4K. And yeah, when I go on bluray.com and they have their written reviews for the actual video transfers, and they emphasize details about how, like, you can see better textures and details in, like, clothing and, like, skin pores or, like, sweat or, like, say, follicles or beards or all that kind of bullshit. Like, the intimate strands of detail that is captured on the chemical process of film. Wonderful. Yeah, so imagine that, but it's just porn. Now, these movies vary. They all have amazing video transfers. The audio is great. Again, I think one of these I listened to without the use of headphones, with the 5.1 mix, and it sounded great. I think that was Frivolous Lola, actually, because that one has a musical number. They don't sing and dance, but they do dance, and it's great. It's set in the 50s at the time. It's a period piece, basically. I think it's probably my favorite of the three. It's kind of the most normal one to go into. Like, if you're going to start with any Tinto, I would start with Frivolous Lola. It is a really fun movie, and it's got some great characters. It's really interesting because, again, these films are arguably, like, if we're going to go into, like, political stuff or, like, social commentary, like, they're arguably really sexist, but at the same time, not. It's a European thing, and it's a cliche to even say that, but come and contrast it to American cinema. It's a European thing, where they will have this element where the camera will follow her ass during so much of the movie, because Tinto, he knows what he likes. Some of it's a bit not my appetite, There are bathroom scenes in particular, especially in All Ladies Do It, where they're washing themselves, and I'm like, there's just elements to that where I just don't need that in my day-to-day life. Because at the same time, this is still erotic cinema. It's meant to tantalize. Not everything you see is what you're going to like. That's kind of how porn works. But these have narratives. That's why it's erotic cinema, not just porn. And it ain't softcore. I mean, it's not. It's not. But it's really interesting to watch these, because, again, I'm watching these for the plot. You'd think, nah, Julian, don't lie to us. We all know you're watching it for the porn. And trust me, in 4K, you'd think that. But at the same time, I like the variation to see what can be captured in cinema. And this is a really interesting variation on cinema, of course. Because, again, the reason why, for example, Cheeky's my least favorite of the three is because that one is mostly porn. Like, it's 90% porn. The plot, very, very thin. It's about a girl who moves to the UK, and she wants to have she wants her boyfriend to come from Italy to stay with her while she, works there and whatever, and he can study in preparation for an exam, whatever. And the whole time they're basically arguing over the phone when they do talk, and he's saying that she's going to be cheating on him because he's not around, and she's like, no, I'm not going to cheat on you, and then proceeds to cheat on him. So, like I said, there's the commentary aspects about, possessive behavior, abusive behavior, sexual liberty. There's a feminist element to a lot of these films, which is really interesting, mostly because it's this sexual liberation. And it's not just I want to fuck whoever I want. It's also a reason why they want to do that. They're not, like, slutty or whatever in, I guess, the derogatory way of the word. Like, for example, All Ladies Do It is about a woman who's been married and for like 5 years, and she hasn't had sex with anyone else, and suddenly she's like, I just kind of want to experiment. I want to experience life, because her friend is like, hey, I've been doing all this stuff, and she's like, man, my husband won't let me do that kind of stuff, and so she wants to experiment, so she does. So that's a film about someone experimenting with what they can. Is it considered cheating? Yes. Does the partner disagree with it? Yes. Is that a conflict in the film? Yes. Dramatic stakes, who would have thought? And then, of course, Frivolous Lola, in terms of plot-wise, is basically about a girl who is engaged to a baker and she wants to lose her virginity before they get married. But she's getting to the point where she's happy to lose her virginity to whomever. It doesn't have to be him. And so she doesn't. Realistically, it's not like she's going around slutting herself around, but the implication is there that that's what she wants to do. She's like, I will happily go have sex with this random guy unless you have sex with me before we get married. And that's the plot of the movie. It's basically leading up to their wedding, and will he have sex with her or not? And the irony is, you'd think, oh, she must be a bad person for that. But it's like, he's been having sex with a prostitute this whole time. Like, it's crazy. It's interesting because, again, none of it seems exploitative in that way. Like, he's having sex with this prostitute, but she's aware that he's about to get married because it's a small town. And also the fact that she also knows that they talk. They talk in their time, like him and the prostitute talk in their sessions, like he pays for an hour. Most of that is have sex for 5 minutes and then talk for the rest of it about, his quarrels with his partner and whatever. Almost like a therapist. It's really interesting, and there's like a lot of different elements of that's interesting. Again, there's the analysis of like societal norms when it comes to, oh well, a man can go out and cheat and have sex with prostitutes and whatever, but a woman has to only service her man and all this kind of stuff. And these films are arguing that shouldn't be the case. The period set one, it's about the woman wanting to have sex before marriage because she's like, well, I want to just do it because we can. We already know we're getting married. It shouldn't be a big deal. And he's like, no, we should have sex only when we're married. But meanwhile, I'm going to go have sex with this prostitute. It perpetuates the irony of societal norms. And I really like those discussion points in these films. It makes them really interesting, especially in terms of how it develops with the plot, how it affects the characters. So it makes these interesting films. Except for Cheeky, again, that one, not as interesting and mildly homophobic. Mostly because she moves in London with this woman who is a lesbian and is consistently trying to pursue her. And it's just that there's a lot of interesting discussion points. But again, that could play with the eroticism for it. Do you want to see two girls get it on? There you go. That's Cheeky. Does she also sleep with a guy? Maybe. Does she also sleep with her boyfriend? Maybe. Is there flashbacks to show how much of a promiscuous life she's had and how her promiscuous life shouldn't affect the relationship she wants to have with this guy? Is it going to can make her, openly cheat on him? But, it begs those questions, and that's what the films are about. So as much as Cheeky makes it sound like that's a great premise, oh yeah, it's this discussion of, is this girl's promiscuity, she's had this sexually advantageous lifestyle, and she's been sexually open with him as well. Like, she's been having sex with him. You get a bunch of sex scenes with them as well, but you get these flashbacks where she's also having sex with all these other guys and whatever, and it's that thing of, oh, but, he's getting jealous of that, but then he doesn't think that he can trust her because of it, and it's just all these interesting elements. And again, the film discusses it in a much better format, but at the same time, it also is mostly just sex scenes before actually hammering home what the theme of the movie is in like the last 2 minutes of the movie, when they basically decide, he actually gets off on the idea that she's had sex with other people. And it makes it like his kink, that he's like, actually, I think this is going to make our sex life more interesting because you've had sex with other people, and I get jealous about that. So he's making the jealousy factor what makes him turned on. It's crazy. But again, visuals, immaculate. These are amazing transfers. The audio, again, really good. There's a tradition kind of with Italian cinema where there's a lot of like post-looping and post-dubbing and stuff. And for the most part, it's not as noticeable in this, especially obviously if you're watching the English dubs, they're dubs. Flat out. I was watching the English dub for Frivolous Lola at one stage, and because I was trying to figure out which one I want to listen to, because I always do that. I'm always like, do I like the voice actors? Do I not like the voice actors? Do I want to listen to the Italian? Do I want to listen to the English? And it started, and I was at the English track, and they had the subtitles for the Italian. And what they were saying in English it's again, not a match for match what they're saying in Italian, but I'm also like, I kind of prefer what they're saying in Italian. I like the way that it's vocalized and everything. I like the way it's written. I like the character dialogue. I'm going to watch that in that version. I'm going to watch it with the Italian because that just seems more appropriate. And in that case, I think it was more appropriate because you get a better taste and idea of the language through that, you know? They also have very particular words, which when you understand what their meaning is, you're like, oh, probably shouldn't be saying that in my day-to-day, you know? Just in case you casually drop accidental slurs in your day-to-day conversation. Just saying. But yeah, so the audio is good as well. Again, I think I listened to the 5.1 for Frivolous Lola, which was great, especially because it has, you know, a lot of songs playing, a lot of musical numbers. But again, the dialogue sounded good. None of them, I didn't have any issues at all with the way they looked, the way they sounded. There was no issues. They're really, really amazing restorations. And for this brand, which is Cult Epics, it is really interesting. And it's nice to see a label that obviously wants to find its boutique kind of strain, where it's like got these thin cases, slip covers, 3 different types of artwork from the slipcover artwork, which I'm not huge on the Frivolous Lola one. The others are fine. And then you contrast that to the, you know, theatrical artwork, and then the Italian uncensored theatrical artwork. So you get variations that you can swap it around with. You get the art cards. You get, which I like as interesting reproductions of the lobby cards, because it gives you an idea of what the lobby cards look like back in the day. It doesn't over and tantalize the set, and again, it's very much a complaint with a lot of collectors these days that they don't need the extra cardboard, which I now find is a bit ironic because we're getting slipcovers anyway, but at the same time, you know, it's an interesting way to present these films. And I've been buying all of these on sale on Amazon. I'm not buying these for $70 to $80. I'm buying them for like between $35 to $50 per thing. And again, I started with All Ladies Do It, and it was really interesting. I think it's maybe my favorite of the 3. I think it was the most interesting of the 3, but Frivolous Lola was quite fun as well. It probably had the most visual appeal to it in terms of like the period setting, the costuming, how it's kind of discussing in this like the mid-90s, what the period of the time of the 50s kind of showcased. And, you know, again, if you're going to do a film that's basically got a woman with her ass hanging out the whole entire time, of course, set in a small Catholic Italian village, you're like, oh wow, this is so, you know, like controversial. But then at the same time, which I really find quite wonderful about Frivolous Lola, is that people in the town, despite them being very judgy of each other for their own sexual desires per se, because it's not just the main character who is sexually open in the film, but at the same time, the people in the village are also just as kind of naughty. You know, they'll be critical of other people for their openness, but then you see them in their private time, you realize, yeah, no, you're the same. You just don't show it. You know, maybe because you're older, you're like, oh, we should be more respectful and whatever, and be more censored. You know, again, age gaps, generational gaps, that kind of stuff. So they have interesting talking points in these movies. If you don't want to watch a film that has explicit sex or explicit nudity, you don't watch these films. It's simple as that. Like, it's, again, like watching Caligula. If you want to watch the version that has the least amount of sex or nudity, you go for the ultimate cut. Does it still have sex and nudity? Yes. Is it also a very interesting story with captivating performances, amazing set design, and, like, cinematography and stuff? Yes. If you were to watch the unrated cut or the older cuts, because, again, the Umbrella set, I'll show it again. This Umbrella set, the Caligula one, does come with all 5 cuts of the movie, and it is such a amazing set, which again, I've talked about it before, just how much stuff with the ultimate cut, the uncensored, unrated cut, the Italian cut, the Australian cut, and the pre-release cut. 5 different versions of this movie. And it's amazing that they have that availability. And again, you don't need to watch each cut. If you don't want to, you don't have to. There's actually a great video essay by Jared Kahan talking about all 5 cuts, also showcasing the footage from the ultimate cuts. And like, oh, this cut in this particular sequence would have had sexual explicit stuff here, or insane violence there, or whatever. So they've got you covered. It's a great version of the film. It's a great release of the film. And I think that's one of those benefits where you get these 4 films, and there are still quite a number of other... I think there are some more iconic films in terms of Brass's filmography, but these are the ones I've been able to get my hands on because as of this year, they're all on 4K. And of course, lo and behold, the director is still alive, and he's still like seal of approval for these releases. So you could imagine if Criterion had these, it would have his own bloody autograph and everything, which would have been hilarious. But at the same time, Umbrella's release of Caligula is amazing. And Cult Epic's releases for Frivolous Lola, Cheeky, and All Ladies Do It are all really nice. And again, they're all, at least for the Cult Epic ones, they're all color-coded with the red, the yellow, and the green. They've all got their different fonts. There's just a niceness to it all, I think it's one of those things where when it comes to cinema like this, people don't want to be openly admitting that they happen to have a collection of Italian erotic cinema that's either mostly porn or very graphic porn when there is porn. And yeah, because people are embarrassed about that. In this case, I have a friend who reads a lot of smut, basically, and she has no sexual relation to any of this stuff. She's actually is asexual. She doesn't find any of it attractive at all. She doesn't get anything out of the sexual parts of it. Do you know what she does? She reads it for the plot. And I used to think that is bewildering, that you can just do that. Just read something for the plot, have no, nothing turns you on, you got no horny factor, nothing, zilcho. And that's just her kind of reading style. She likes reading that stuff, even though she doesn't find that attractive. She wants to read for the plot and the characters and everything. And that's like me with these goddamn movies. Not Caligula in particular, but at least with the other three, which are very pornographic. And that's the thing. Sure, it's nice watching the porn to some degree. It depends on the context of it. Is it assault? Is it consensual? There's a whole myriad of stuff. Like, none of these films have stuff that is... It all has elements that are completely inappropriate, and the stuff that you will find a turn off. Like I said, All Ladies Do It have sequences that I don't find any interesting, but also I'm a bit... I don't need to see that, But then the other films still may have visuals that relate to All Ladies Do It, but they don't go as heavily into it. They go into different areas, They explore different avenues. To be fair, always butt on the screen. So much of the time, holy shit, this guy likes his ass. And to be fair, I get it, He has a very particular casting choice for a lot of these films, and I'm like, I get you. Good for you, man. So I'm coming into it from this expectation of understanding the cinema, understanding what they're going for in these films. And again, this is something I'm still very new to. I've only just been experiencing this over the past couple of months. And it's been really nice to see these releases, to see this kind of cinema stuff that is snuff, is not considered, high quality. And watching it, realizing... it's actually not that bad, except for Cheeky. That's just the only one that I'm like, man, this plot is boring as shit. These characters are not amazingly interesting, but I guess that explains why most of this movie is, porn. Just in contrast to the other two. The other two are, maybe 60-40, 70-30. This one's, 90-10, maybe 95% plot, 5% story. It wasn't really what I was into at the time. And again, I could rewatch it because, again, I've got the 4K, and I'd be like, well, I know that I'm here to expect porn. I don't know, time to pull my pants off or something. I don't know, that doesn't interest me as much, to be fair. But yeah, so when in a day and age where you could easily make the argument, Julian, porn is free, why are you spending $40 to $50 on a 4K of Italian erotica? Because it is cinema, and I'm allowed to, and we can do that. And isn't that great? I don't have to buy it in a brown paper bag or some weird thing like that. Man, the 80s and 90s and noughties must have been fun periods of time for people who wanted to actually fuck it. Any time before the 2010s, before the internet, must have been crazy for people to have to buy magazines and stuff and hide it underneath your bed. I've seen those 80s teen bloody movies. I know some of the situations that people apparently got themselves into. We all have our experiences with that, so yeah. But anyway, if you're interested in this type of cinema, I do recommend these films. Specifically, All Ladies Do It and Frivolous Lola. Caligula, on its own, I suggest without any need. It's like watching Game of Thrones. There's going to be nudity and sex anyway. It seems normal. But then you look at the graphic nature of the other three and you realize, this is a bit different than normal. This is a lot more. Holy shit, is a lot more. when you're seeing actual penetration, even if it is a fake prosthetic dick, which is always hilarious to me because they're always the same fake prosthetic dick. Oh my god, hilarious. It's just, sometimes you see real dicks in it. That's just a thing. Sometimes that just happens. But yeah, so it's interesting, and I definitely would recommend Frivolous Lola probably as the gateway drug. Realistically, All Ladies Do It is really interesting as a character thing and a discussion of its subject matter, and Cheeky is just porn. So there, enjoy. And again, no judgment from me. If you like this kind of stuff, go for it. Like, if you like it for the erotic stuff, that's for you. Go for it. That's the kind of joy of it. Like, do I need to say anything more? For me, I'm interested in the plot and the characters. Do I also like that there is porn in it? Sure, why not? I mean, hell, I'm buying it. I might as well enjoy that stuff as well while I'm here, but it's not always going to tickle my fancy. Nevertheless, enjoy. See you guys next time. Goodbye.